Mark and Andy they weren't just friends, they were best friends. I guess lots of you have got friends, and some of you might even have best friends who are always important to look after. But not only were Mark and Andy best friends, but they used to live next door to each other. They went to the same school together, and guess what? Both of them had their birthday on exactly the same day. You know, they weren't twins because they were from different families. They lived next door to each other, but their birthdays were on the same day. And every day when it was school, they would walk to school in the morning, quite close by anyway. And as they walked to school, they would chit and chat about everything. But on the way home, they would always come home a different way. They would come home by and via the shop. No, it wasn't the sweet shop, wasn't even a toy shop. No, it was a bike shop. And when they went by, there in the window of the bike shop was the most amazing mountain bike that you could ever imagine. And they would stand outside the shop window, looking there, with the noses right up against the glass and going, oh look, it's got front and rear suspension, look. Oh look, it's got disc brakes, it's hydraulic ones as well. How many gears is it got? Hey, it's got 10 gears in the back and 3 in the front. It's got 30 gears. And they would talk about this mountain bike and look at the bits and pieces and then make their way home. I'm not sure who came up with the idea first of all. I don't know whether it was Mark or whether it was Andy. But one of them did, and they said, hey, listen, our birthday's coming up quite soon. Why don't we mention to our mum and dad about the bike in the bike shop window? Maybe they could get it for our birthdays. They both thought it was a brilliant idea. So when they both got home, Mark went into his house, Andy went into his. Mark sat down with his mum and dad having his tea, and partway through tea, he turned around to mum and dad and said, hey mum and dad, do you know it's getting near my birthday? Well, if you're wondering what to get for me, down in the bike shop, there's an amazing mountain bike in the window. So if you wanted to get me something, because I haven't got a mountain bike, that would be brilliant to get for me. And mum and dad said, well, we'll have to wait and see. Next door in Andy's house, same sort of conversation went on, partly through tea. Andy turns around to mum and dad and says, hey, do you know it's getting near my birthday? Well, down in the bike shop, this is an amazing mountain bike. If you wanted to get me something from my birthday, that would be a great idea. And mum and dad said, well, we'll have to wait and see. Now, there was a problem, because you see, in Andy's house, Andy's dad had fairly recently lost his job. The company he worked for finished and he was out of a job. So mum and dad had to be very wise with how they were using their money. So to be able to buy a brand new bike was a bit of a difficult one. But Andy's dad was really clever at fixing things. And they talked together, mum and dad talked together afterwards, and said, Andy's dad said, I'll sort something. Well, it comes to the birthday. Mark comes downstairs into the hallway in his house, and there, all wrapped up with paper, was a very strange looking shape. He ripped the paper off it, and underneath the paper, guess what it was? You've got it. It was the bike from the bike shop window. He turned around to his mum and dad and said, oh, thanks mum, thanks dad, that is amazing, just what I wanted. Can I go for a ride on it? And they said, yeah, okay, be sensible. And he went outside and began to ride up and down the hill outside of his house. It was a fairly quiet road, so it was quite safe to ride. In Andy's house, Andy comes downstairs in the morning on his birthday. There in the hall, similar shaped thing, all wrapped up with paper. He goes across to it, he rips the paper off, and underneath the paper, guess what it was? Well, it wasn't the bike from the bike shop window. It was a bike, and it was a brilliant mountain bike, because what Andy's dad had done was he had got a hold of a second-hand bike, and he'd sprayed up the frame, and he put all new bits and pieces on it. So it was a really great looking bike. But it wasn't the bike from the bike shop window. And it was a strange one, because you see, inside of inside of Andy was that sort of feeling. It was a sort of an excited feeling, but it was a little bit of a disappointment, because it wasn't the bike from the bike shop window. So he felt a little bit empty, just like that bag did. And well, he didn't want to let his mum and dad know that he was a little bit disappointed, because it was a brilliant bike. And he turned around and said, oh, thanks mum, thanks dad, that is absolutely fantastic. Can I take it for a ride? And they said, yeah, okay, off you go then, but be sensible. Well, he goes outside of his house, and as he's riding his bike up the hill, he sees Mark coming down the hill, and then he recognises that Mark, in actual fact, has got the bike from the bike shop window. And as if from nowhere, there was this feeling that sort of, well, started on the inside of Andy. And it was one which, as he saw that Mark had the bike from the bike shop window, as if from nowhere, this feeling sort of arrived, and it rumbled around inside, and it was one of jealousy, I guess, and along with it was a little saying, because as he saw that Mark had the bike, and he had this little saying which went along with it, which was, it's not fair. And he thought, well, it's not fair that he's got the bike and I haven't got it. So Mark comes down and stops beside him, and he said, oh, great bike. And he said, what do you think of my bike? And with that, Andy turns around and suddenly blurts out, it's not fair. And Mark says, what's not fair? He said, it's not fair that you got the bike from the bike shop window and I got this bike, which is a second-hand bike, even though it's a great bike because my mum and dad sorted it out. But it's not the bike from the bike shop. And it's not fair that you got the bike from the bike shop window. Well, Mark didn't know what to do. So he turned around to his best friend and he said to him, well, would you like to have a ride on it? So he said, okay. And with that, Andy then starts to ride Mark's bike up the hill in this feeling. And the strange thing is, boys and girls, when we get these sorts of feelings, if we leave them, they don't stay with themselves. They seem to bring other feelings along as well. So as he's thinking to himself, it's not fair that you got the bike from the bike shop window and I haven't, another feeling sort of arrived. And this one here was one which made him feel sort of angry, red with anger. And so the it's not fair brought the other one into this feeling. And as he's thinking to about the bike that his mate had the bike from the bike shop window and it wasn't fair, and he brought it back to him. And he turned to his best friend Mark and he said, and anyway, I hate you. And Mark said, well, why do you hate me? Well, because it's not fair that you got the bike from the bike shop window and I got this bike in, and I hate you because you got it and I haven't got it. And boys and girls, these feelings sort of rumbled away inside and they both went indoors to their houses. A few days went by, and when Andy came home from school, by himself this time because they weren't friends any longer, he saw that Mark's bike was leaning up against the wall outside of Mark's house. And he thought to himself, right, I'll sort things out. And he went to his dad's garage, and in his dad's garage in a drawer there was a penknife. He knew it was there, and he got the penknife. And boys and girls never ever play with knives. They're daft to play with them. I'm an adult and I know to use these. But he got the penknife and he opened it up, and he went outside, and he saw Mark's bike leaning up against the wall, and he got the penknife and he went up to it and he went, and he scratched it all over, and he thought, there, that makes me feel better. And it was sort of a feeling which was, well, I'll get my own back, vengeance is mine sort of idea. And it was a sad one really, because you see, it all started off with the it's not fair, and it's not fair tends to say, doesn't stay by itself, and it brought in the I hate you, and now it's I'll get my own back. And did it make Andy feel better doing that? No, it didn't. But anyway, he went indoors, and it wasn't very long before there was a knock on his door, and he could hear his mum and Mark's mum talking together. Andy's mum comes into the room and says to Andy, hey Andy, do you know anything about what's happened to Mark's bike? And Andy said, well, no, what's happened to it? She said, well, somebody's scratched all the paint. Do you know anything about it? And because he was sort of afraid to tell the truth, he ended up turning around and told a lie. And he said to his mum, no, I don't know anything about it. And she said, oh, okay. And she went out. And that night when Andy went to bed, he lay in bed, thought about all that had happened on his birthday, that he ended up with the bike, but Mark ended up with the bike from the bike shop window, and how he said to him that it's not fair, and then how he lost his temper with him and said that he hated him, and then he thought about what he'd done to his best friend's bike, and then he thought about the fact that now he had told the lie, and these feelings, as I say, they don't tend to stay together, they tend to rumble away. And as he's lying in bed thinking about all the things that had happened, another feeling sort of arrived, because this one didn't make him feel happy at all. In actual fact, he felt really blue and really sad and concerned, and he wondered what to do, and he just didn't know how to handle all these feelings. Hey, boys and girls, listen, if things ever go wrong, and you get in a situation, what am I supposed to do with this? It seems to get out of control type of thing. Always talk to someone. Maybe a teacher in school, or your mum or your dad, or a best friend who's wise. But talk to someone. And that's what he did. He lay in bed and thought, what can I do? And he called out to his mum. Mum! Mum! His mum comes into the room and says, what's up, Andy? And he said to her, Mum, I don't feel very well. How do you feel? He said, well, I've got a headache, Mum, and I feel really, really bad on the inside and the real me. And she said, well, do you think I should call the doctor? And he said, I don't think the doctor can help with this one, Mum. So she said, well, why? What's happened? Mum, something really, really horrible's happened, and it's just got worse, and I don't know what to do about it. So she said, tell me all about it. She sat on the edge of the bed, and old Andy began to tell his mum about what had happened, about his birthday, and how he got the bike that his dad had fixed together and made it really, really good. But then when he saw the fact that Mark had the bike from the bike shop window, he said that it wasn't fair, and then he got angry with the fact that he had the bike and he didn't have it himself, and he turned around to his best friend and said that he hated him. And then he said, Mum, I came home from school one day and saw Mark's bike leaning up against the wall, and I went and got Dad's penknife, and I was the person that scratched it and everything. And then you asked me if I knew anything about it, and I was a bit afraid to tell you the truth, Mum, and I ended up telling you a lie. Mum, I feel really, really horrible on the inside, and I just don't know what to do about these feelings, and how can I deal with them? Well, his mum was wise. Boys and girls, most mums are very, very wise. Mum sat on the bed, and she said, right, okay, listen, I think there are 3 things that you need to do. First of all, you need to go to your best friend Mark and say to him that you're sorry and own up to what you've done. Very important to say sorry, very good word, boys and girls, but it's an important word to say. Secondly, she said, you need to save up your pocket money. So he said, why do I need to save up my pocket money? She said, you need to save up your pocket money to pay for his bike to get fixed again. Boys and girls, if we do things wrong, often we need to do something to put them right as well. And thirdly, she said, because when we do things wrong ourselves, we don't only do it wrong to people, but we also do it wrong to God. And you need to ask God to forgive you. And the great thing is, she said, is that He's provided a way that we can be forgiven. And with that, boys and girls, she took out a clean handkerchief. And she said this handkerchief was nice and clean. She said there's only one person who was perfectly clean, who never thought, said or did anything that's wrong, and that was Jesus. And yet, Jesus was actually punished for the things that we've done wrong. And if we say that we're sorry to Him and ask Him to forgive us, all those things that are part of our lives, those things that we think, say, and do that are wrong, He will forgive us. But not only will He forgive us, but He'll actually take them away, and it's just as if they've never even been there. That night, she sat down with him, she had a little prayer with him before she went out of the room, and so Andy lay there in bed. He lay there and he said a little prayer himself. He said, Jesus, thank you that you died on the cross for me. I am sorry for the things that I've done wrong with my friend Mark. Would you please help me tomorrow to sort them out? And he went to sleep. Next morning he woke up, went into his mate's house next door, said to Mark, Mark, I'm really, really sorry for what I've done. I don't know why I did it, just things went wrong and everything else, but will you please forgive me? And also I'm going to save up my money to pay for your bike to be fixed. And do you know what, boys and girls? I don't know whether they did what I did when I used to be at school, because when we used to break friends sometimes we had a little saying. It was, make friends, never, never break friends. And they are best friends now. Actually, Mark and Andy often ride their mountain bikes around the area, just outside of Cardiff, and they're best of mates even to this day. So a lesson we can learn from two friends, Mark and Andy. Hey, by the way, if you've got friends, make sure you take care of them, because they're very, very important. Listen, well, it'd be great to finish off this bit of the assembly with a prayer. So let's quietly put our hands together, shall we? And we'll close our eyes, and I'm going to say a prayer. You can listen to me as I say the prayer, and then at the end of it you can say Amen after me. Okay, we'll listen to that. Dear God, thank you very much for our friends, and thank you that some of us have actually got best friends. And would you please help us today to get on well with them? And if we do things today that, well, maybe we shouldn't do, and things that are not too cool, would you please help us to remember to say sorry and to mean it and to put things right? Thank you that you loved us so much that you died on the cross so that we can be forgiven by you as well. In Jesus' name, Amen.